This happened back in 2016 when I was in 5th grade. If you remember that year, you probably remember all the killer clown sightings that were happening everywhere. It was on the news, all over YouTube, Instagram, even the local radio stations talked about it. Most adults thought it was just some dumb internet trend, some guys in costumes trying to scare people. But for kids my age, it was terrifying. That day started off completely normal. I went to school like usual, an elementary school in a quiet suburban area where nothing interesting ever happened. It was around 1 p.m, close to the end of the school day. Our classroom was calm, everyone working on some boring worksheet, the sound of pencils scratching and a few people whispering in the back. Then, out of nowhere, one of the girls near the window suddenly said in this high, shaky voice, "There's a clown outside." Every head in the room shot up. A few kids laughed nervously, but several of us rushed to the window. And sure enough, there was a clown. He was standing just a few feet from the window, completely still, facing us. His outfit was an oversized, dirty red and yellow suit that hung loosely on his body. His face was painted white, with black smeared around the eyes, and bright red lips stretched into a huge grin. The worst part was how real it looked. It wasn't some party store mask. He had taken his time painting it. For several long seconds he didn't move, didn't blink, just stared into the room. Then, very slowly, he raised his hand and started waving. Some kids laughed like it was a joke, but a lot of us didn't. There was something wrong about it, something way too deliberate about the way he moved. Our teacher, Mrs. Riker, walked over to the window, annoyed. She looked at the man for maybe 2 seconds before speaking through the glass. "Excuse me, classes are in session. You need to leave." The clown didn't respond. He didn't even flinch. He just kept standing there, grinning and waving. Mrs. Riker sighed, walked to the phone by the door, and stepped into the hallway to talk to the office. She came back a minute later, hung up, and immediately pulled the blinds shut. But before she did, I caught one last glimpse of the clown, still standing there, still waving, tilting his head side to side in this slow, exaggerated way. Not even 2 minutes later, the principal's voice crackled over the loudspeaker. "Staff, please get your classrooms into lockdown formation." The way she said it, it wasn't a drill. It was urgent but controlled, like she was trying not to scare us. Mrs. Riker didn't waste time. She turned off the lights, locked the door, and told us to get under our desks. The room went silent except for some nervous giggling. I remember crouching on the cold tile floor, staring at the door, and wondering if the clown was walking through the halls. We stayed like that for what felt like forever, but was probably about 30 minutes. Finally, the principal's voice came back, saying the lockdown was over and the situation had been handled. Security had confirmed the clown was gone. Classes resumed like nothing happened, but the rest of the day felt weird. Nobody could focus. Every time I glanced toward the window, I half expected to see that face again. When the final bell rang, my friend Chris and I walked home together. We lived just a few blocks away, so we usually took the same path. As we were heading down the sidewalk, 2 girls from our grade ran past us, looking panicked. One of them gasped, "There's someone in the woods." Behind our school, there's a small patch of trees. Not exactly a forest, just enough to block the view of the street beyond it. Chris and I turned to look, and there he was, the same clown, same filthy costume, same painted face. He was standing half hidden among the trees, body still, but slowly lifting his hand to wave again. Only this time, he was waving directly at the 2 girls, almost like he was beckoning them to come closer. Chris and I didn't say a word, we just bolted. When I got home, I told my parents everything. They called the school, and later I heard police came back to patrol the area, but they never found anyone. To this day, no one knows who that guy was or what he wanted. Maybe he just wanted to scare some kids, or maybe he was waiting for someone to walk into those woods alone. What haunts me most is the thought that he came back after the lockdown. He waited, hidden in those trees, watching the kids go home. This happened not too long ago. I live on the outskirts of Philadelphia with my son and my stepdaughter. I say stepdaughter because, back in 2016, I legally took in my best friend's daughter after something horrible happened. My best friend Joanne was murdered by her husband. He wasn't just guilty of her death, he ended up making national headlines after being convicted of 5 more murders. He's now serving 3 consecutive life sentences with no chance of parole. At least that's what I believed. Fast forward to March 30th, 2020, the early days of the pandemic lockdowns. I work as a middle school teacher at my son's school. He's a grade below what I teach, and my stepdaughter is a grade above me. Their classrooms are not far from mine, so I feel some comfort knowing they're close by. Our school is in a pretty isolated spot. The next school is about 10 miles away, the nearest gas station is 2 miles out, and the closest park is 600 meters from the building. We were one of the last schools in the district still open before full lockdowns. That day was a normal Monday, warm for March. I was teaching math to my 6th graders when I felt my phone vibrate. It was a notification from the school's pickup system. The way it works is simple. If someone arrives to pick up your child, you, as the emergency contact, get a notification. The message said someone was here to pick up my stepdaughter. Immediately, alarm bells went off. She had no appointments, no relatives nearby, and the only people authorized to pick her up were me and my spouse. I quickly replied to the system saying, "I'm at school. No one within a 10-mile radius should be picking her up." Moments later, the front office called me. The woman on the line sounded uneasy. She said the person picking her up was listed as her biological father. I froze. The school doesn't have that kind of information on file, and there is no possible way he could pick her up. He was supposed to be in prison for life. The line went quiet for a moment. Finally, the woman said she was calling the principal to figure out what to do. I had this gut feeling, a bad one. I hung up and immediately called my stepdaughter's classroom. I told the teacher to send her straight to me. Less than 10 minutes later, she walked into my classroom, looking confused. I felt this wave of relief right before the lockdown siren started blaring. This is not a drill. Everything inside me dropped. I knew exactly what this was about. I told the kids to push the desks against the door, kill the lights, and stay quiet. We huddled in the corner, hearts pounding. The siren echoed through the halls while I tried to keep my breathing steady. I had a sickening feeling that he was in the building. The lockdown lasted 46 minutes, though it felt like hours. At one point, I swear I heard heavy footsteps in the hallway, but maybe it was just my imagination. All I could think about was how the system sent that notification first. Whoever came to pick her up had been right there in the office. When it was finally lifted, I was escorted out by police officers. They took me to an empty room and started asking questions about how I knew this man. I explained everything, that Joanne had been my best friend, that I took her daughter in after he killed her, and that I thought he was locked up for life. That's when the officer told me how he got out. Apparently, a prison bus transporting inmates was involved in a crash. A car swerved into the bus on purpose, killing 10 prisoners and injuring guards. 20 inmates escaped. Among them was Joanne's husband, my stepdaughter's father. Police were already at my house when this happened, expecting he might go there. When the school went into lockdown, they knew exactly why. Luckily, he never made it to my classroom. They believe he saw the police presence and ran. To this day, they haven't told me much else, just that he's back in custody now, but I can't stop thinking about it. If I hadn't acted fast, if I hadn't called for my stepdaughter when I did, I don't even want to imagine what would have happened that day.